Morning guys, Mon here. Today I have a little specific topic. Today I want to talk about Soulstone Survivors, but not just any whatever. We talk about a very specific run in Soulstone Survivors. Because for those that don't know, I'll just quickly explain. Soulstone Survivors is a game where you kill enemies that is currently before the game released in early access, not exactly early access, it's free to play currently, and whatever. And you can currently play it. And this game did hold a tournament, and the tournament was about doing a run for 30 minutes or getting as close to 30 minutes as possible and dealing the most damage you can in that time frame. And this is the 85 million damage run, which is the by far highest run of the tournament, which is by me. And I want to make a little video because I got a lot of questions on how I did this run, what went very well inside this run, and well, overall my tactics inside the run. So we are going to get the full run. We're watching at double speed, so it won't be as long as looked here, and I will pause and maybe skip some stuff. But overall, we will take a look at this run overall. But first, I want to get my paint skills up here and explain two things. So the first thing here is the corner strat. This currently is the speedrunning strat. You sit in a corner and all enemies spawn somewhere here and walk towards you. This would be your screen more or less, and they walk in from the outside. So you have a lot of enemies because there always are the same amounts of enemies spawning. So when you're in the corner, you have very little space for enemies to spawn. This strat was not allowed in the tournament, which caused some trouble, but I don't want to get into that. So I was looking at how can I optimize the enemy spawn without doing the corner strat, because that's the most important part for this challenge. You need a very, very good enemy spawn and good skills and everything, of course, but you can reroll until you have good skills. So the most important thing about this run was the strat. So on the second map, on the first map, there is a point at the left side where we have a wall and this rock. And I'm running up and down close to the spot in the early game, so I have only these 3 points where enemies can come from. And it comes very close to the corner strat because overall it limits the enemy spawn as well, kind of heavily. Not nearly as much as the corner strat, but more or less the best we can do. And this was very important, and it's the wall strat. And this is allowed, I double checked that. So it more or less is a corner strat 2.0. So yeah, this just in short, and we just dive straight in. This is the end of the run before. I was at 16 minutes. This was a really, really good run as well. The problem was I accidentally one-shot Alexi. So we see I go to the left. Here is the big thingy, the big rock. And we just try to funnel the enemies into us and give them very little spawn, very little room to spawn. They spawn here and below us. And yeah, here's the first thing that's very noticeable. The damage instant. Like, instant damage in this game is extremely important, because currently speedrunning strats evolve around 3 things. Or like, you want to clear a lot of enemies fast, and the 3 limiting factors are range. You want to have a lot of range with your skills to kill enemies very quickly. You want to have very little cooldown on your skills to kill enemies quickly, so enemies don't run around forever. And you want your skills to deal a lot of damage, so yeah, enemies die quickly. And then the corner strat or the wall strat comes into play there to just make the enemies come faster. Here you can see I've got the skeleton warrior, the skeleton archers as first skill, and the skeleton mages as second skill. Both these skills excel at all 3 of these points. They shoot all the time, so they don't really have a cooldown like other skills have 4, 6, whatever seconds. They just are there all the time. They have very, very high range. You can see the skeletons shooting nearly off screen sometimes. and they just deal way too much damage, which, like, overall they need a nerf. Like, the archers, and they will get a nerf, and it's absolutely good that they're getting in the nerf. So, and here's the second instance of instant damage rare. This is such an insane start, and I will talk later about why instant damage is so good. But first of all, like, you want the enemies to die fast, and you want, like, whenever an enemy is coming onto your screen, you want it to die pretty much immediately. And this is happening with instant skills, because the enemy is spawning and your skill is up, and it will instantly target the enemy and kill it if it is in range, because your skills won't go off if there is no enemy nearby. So stuff that casts and has a duration, like time to come down, and like, for example, the glacier I had. It targets the enemies, then it flies down, and then it deals damage. And by then, the skeletal archers will have killed the enemy. Like, there's no way they survive before the glacier comes down. So we just need instant skills. And instant damage scales all of these skills. And not only that, instant damage also increases the buff effect of Bloodlust and Might. So instant damage scales like all of our sources and triple dips, because it increases the damage of all skills, it increases the buff effect, which increases the damage, and it increases the potency of Bloodlust, which increases the attack speed, which increases the damage output. That's why instant damage rare is so extremely strong. The other very important thing I've got was Vicious Strikes. I got Vicious Strikes relatively early here, like a few levels ago, and Vicious Strikes just makes your first hit on an enemy always crit. This is extremely broken, because it ensures that the archers will pretty much instantly kill anything. Like, it doesn't matter, just everything dies. Then we've got the Void and the Multicast range. Multicast range is extremely good. We've already got Void, the Chain Lightning, and the Thunderstrike, which all are ranged and all are possible to multicast, and like, they just clear so well, and the archers just take everything they don't kill. So whenever something walks on the screen, Chain Lightning and Thunderstrike will erase it, and the skeletons just as well. So in this run, you can see me skipping a lot of like Faithful Strikes and other stuff that usually is considered good, because it doesn't give immediate damage. And for your runs, you need immediate damage to just clear the enemies as quickly as possible. Like, you see, even the elite mobs just die in 2 hits at max, and later on will die in a single hit, because I already got like quite a good scaling, because the the Barbarian already has very good crit. He starts with 30% crit and 2.4 crit multiplier, I believe, something like that. So we already, and then with Vicious Strikes, it just did so much damage. Then let's take a look at our skill bar. We've got Skeleton Archers, Skeleton Mages, Bloodlust, Void, Chain Lightning, and Thunderstrike. All of these are S tier, aside from probably the Mages, because the Mages don't fulfill like one role. Here they have a channel, or like a cast time. They throw their bomb, and then it flies and flies and flies and flies and lands, and then it deals damage. So that is kind of bad about it. And here you see at 8 minutes we've spawned the 5th boss, which I want to talk about quickly. Like, the 5th boss was Alexi, and this is extremely important. This run would not have worked if Kulimath, or how it's called, the ice boss would have spawned, because the ice boss is very dangerous. Deals a lot of damage and ignores area, like ignores the range. He can always cast and will kill your skeletons, so you need to spawn them again and have uptime again. And spawns like these ice thingies that just take aggro from your skills, and your skills can't wait for enemies to be on your screen. And overall, Alexi is very important as last boss. For this challenges was like pretty much mandatory to reroll if you didn't get Alexi on your last boss, which is kind of sad, but because you like had to reroll really good runs. But yeah, that's just how it is. You're like, when you kite for 20 minutes, you just need an optimal kiting setup. And another thing we can talk about here is I'm at 10 minutes and my void just dominates the screen. Because I've got the setup I talked about earlier. We've got 40% instant damage and the vicious strikes and some crit multiplier, which just makes me deal so much damage that I could completely ignore damage mods and just go for attack speed, bloodlust potency, and AoE for void. And this just makes the run, because void by now has so much AoE that it pulls all enemies that spawn into one place, where my other skills can just one-shot them, or two-shot. Some survive like the first skill, but it doesn't matter really. Like, void pulls them from everywhere, gets them together, and the archers just shoot through, pierce all enemies, and yeah, they're all gone. So void isn't really a damage dealer here, but void nonetheless is carrying this run. This run wouldn't like have worked that well without the insane void area. And from this point onwards, the run really isn't going to be much more interesting. Or like telling, because from now on it's just scaling what we have. We get a few more damage upgrades, more crit chance, more crit multiplier, like to ensure that we always crit on the higher health enemies later on. I've got 2 skills that apply confusion, which is extremely good. Because like I don't need 100% crit multi then, because the first hit will like deal a lot of damage and confuse the enemy, which then has like a higher chance to take a critical strike. Like, yeah, we can actually skip a little bit here, because we just kill enemies very quickly and go on with that. I will put the full run into the description. Here's a very interesting thing that I wanted to talk about as well. So we are now 15 minutes into the run and we received might. So we got might here. Might is very important for the later stage of the run, because the enemies have a lot of HP. And at this point, I need the damage from might to like scale my damage far enough to keep one-shotting them. And here, again, the 2 rare instant damages come into play, because instant damage, as I said, scales bloodlust effect and also scales the might damage effect. So we instantly get a pretty buffed up might. But we see, okay, I only have really good skills in here, so what do we replace? And the answer to that is skeleton mages. Because skeleton mages is the weakest of all of these skills, but also only like has a delayed replace. Because we have so much damage that we obliterate all enemies here, that we don't really lose our skeleton mages. And until the skeleton mages die, they will just keep walking with us, keep dealing damage, and act as a 7th skill. So this is very important for runs like this, that you notice you can have 7 skills for quite a while. Like a few minutes. I don't know when my mages die, because they often run off screen and just kill enemies there. But they were there for quite a while, and we see that in the in the scoreboard in the end. Yeah, we can just skip a little bit here. And we see our void just gets bigger and bigger. I believe I somewhere got another multicast for void. Yeah, then for kiting strategies, we can talk a little bit about kiting. There, Kulimeth and Alexi act a little different, because Alexi is moving a lot faster than Kulimeth, because he doesn't cast. When you are off screen, he just walks towards you and he reaches you at some point, so you have to walk a lot. So at the point where the 5th boss spawns, there's 2 very important factors that play into a role if you have to reroll or not. Can you kite properly with your build? That means, can I run away from the boss in decent speed and still kill a lot of enemies? This can have few different like options. Like either you are kind of fast through bloodlust, some agility, and just have a lot of AoE to kill enemies very quickly. Or you can have like a few dashes if you got like double swift or how it's called. To have 4 dashes, you can jump from corner to corner in like 2 dash cooldowns. So you jump 4 dashes in the middle, let enemies spawn, kill them, and dash again to the next. Or you just have like as much as AoE and damage, so it doesn't really matter. The second thing that's very important I talked about is it Alexi or Kulemeth, because Kulemeth is a lot easier to kite, but has these annoying icicle effects and everything that just mess with your minions. And also invalidates the skeleton mages strategy, because they will just die very soon. So yeah, kiting is very important. When you have the dashes, you can jump into one corner and stay there for a while to get a lot of spawns in, and then jump to the next corner when Alexi comes too close, because you don't really have a lot of space aside from the corners, because while Alexi is following you, and if you have a good run, as soon as Alexi touches your screen, he just dies. So you have to be very careful about that, which we are going to see later on in the run. Yeah, just more crit multiplier and everything. Now we are reaching the final marks, and I don't really get a lot of level ups anymore because I don't have magnets for this run, and I already am above level 70. I believe I'm 78 or something like that here, so yeah. Okay, so here is like what I noticed. You sadly don't see it because of the follower bar. I moved it up by now, but for that run it wasn't. And here Alexi moved too close and just lost half of his HP. I guess he just drops down because he was too close to the void zones. So here I notice, okay, I still have 2 minutes to go. This is like, I need to increase my speed. So here you see me kiting even faster. Like as soon as he gets anywhere close to my screen, I just run. And even though I do that, we now like reached the 29-minute mark. You see, I run away without like any stopping. And here I think I did kite too fast, because you see by the arrow the boss is not even at half the screen, and now he's more or less in the middle, and he gets too close because I didn't kite him far enough down. So the boss died 45 seconds before the run ended, which is quite sad. So we could have gotten a few more millions into that. We wait for the calculation here. So you see, the skeleton mages did deal about 8 million damage despite being replaced at the 15-minute mark. So they did deal a lot of damage still throughout the run. And yeah, it just shows how important or how strong the skeleton mages are, and how good the idea is to just like replace them when they are in a spot where they can survive for a long time. But overall, this pretty much was the run. I will put the full run into the description, so you can take a look at the full run if you want to see it yourself. I'd say if you have any questions, feel free to ask or contact me on Discord, or just get to the Soulstone Discord and ask there. People are very helpful and friendly. And yeah, just thanks for watching, and get your scores ready. I need to find my record button there. See you guys.